Rick Timbs, the executive director of the Statewide School Finance Consortium. And Rick, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Good. Just pull that mic up a little bit there.
And sure.
Also, we'll talk to you, obviously, about the lawsuit going on against the Utica City School District and on behalf of refugees and being levied by the State Attorney General's office. So what are your thoughts on that when you first heard about that?
I couldn't believe it, actually,
Yeah.
because, I mean, they've got 1,700 refugees in there out of 10,000 kids, which is really 17%. That's a huge number of non-English-speaking students, and that's quite a task. 42 languages being spoken in a high school. 200 kids between the ages of 17 and 21. So you can imagine the burden that you would have if a 19, 20-year-old student comes in and says, okay, hey, I need a program, or they probably can't even say that. They're from sub-Saharan, Africa or something.
Right.
Now, some of the students obviously are very sharp and can hop into programs and are English-speaking, but many of them, I mean, we've heard the anecdotal information like, this is a pencil. This is how you hold a pencil. I mean, this is the indoor plumbing now. You've been living in camps for years and this type of thing. So you got to think that the social piece has got to be enormous, let alone the language barrier.
Right. Yeah, we've heard some comments from teachers saying that it's a challenge. The situations that you mentioned there, where you've got a 19 or 20-year-old student being thrown in sometimes with 16 and 17-year-old students and being way behind the rest of the class. And then, of course, the teacher has to teach class differently for the two groups of students, too.
Exactly. And, of course, the requirements to graduate from high school now are pretty extensive. I mean, the student, we'll say you're a 19-year-old student from Somalia, and you come in and you speak no English at all, and you've been living in a camp for a couple years. All you have to do is in 2 years, you have to be able to pass like an earth science or biology regents exam, an algebra exam. You've got to get another credit or two of science and math as well. You've got to be able to pass a global studies exam in English. You've got to be able to pass a English language arts regents in 11th grade. You've got to be able to take U.S. history and government credit. You've got to take economics. So you can imagine the burden that the school district would have to get these kids the, quote, regents diploma, high school diploma.
So why the lawsuit? Why not some talks first to find out if we could
think
a middle ground somewhere? Perhaps?
I don't know. Apparently there were some talks where they actually said, okay, here's what we're looking at, here's what we're looking at, and I think the district responded. But you would think this would have been handled by the state education department because they're the ones who actually know the requirements to get out of school. There's other avenues to get out of school. You could get a GED diploma, which is a certifiable high school diploma, which is probably why most of these kids would actually, how they'd get their diploma. But that gives you avenues then, if you continue your education into a community college, even a four-year college for an associate's degree, a bachelor's, or anything else. But the truth of it is trying to get an entire high school curriculum, but when you haven't even been in the elementary school yet or in the middle school, within a year or two is very, very difficult. Now, there will be students that have maybe been very well educated in a foreign country before they come here. So I'm sure those kids are in Proctor, but you have to try and find custom programs whereby maybe a lot of the time you spend with these students is on English instruction.
Sure.
Now, you got to remember, English instruction isn't just speaking English.
Right.
It's reading, comprehending English, being able to write English. And as you know, there's two types of English. There's this type of English. Hi, how are you? And then there is other types of English. Well, this is certainly a level of difficulty that's beyond the abstraction of one to understand. So if you can comprehend exactly what I'm saying at the speed I'm saying it, then I guess you're an American, right?
And Rick, I think you highlighted some of the Asian students coming from the countries. They may even have a level of education from their country that reaches 5th or 6th grade there.
Exactly. You never know. So what happens here is you're trying to customize as much as you can. But 1,700 kids is a lot of kids. I mean, actually, 1,700 kids who can't speak English is a population that is greater than most of the school districts in the state of New York.
And the school district facing staffing cuts, over
365 jobs lost in 4 years with $20 million worth of budget cuts. Currently, right now, according to formula, the state of New York owes the city of Utica School District $47 million.
That's crazy. And that's the terrible defunct formula.
It's the formula that's not really running that the state had committed itself to in 2007. Since that time, by the way, if you accumulate all the cuts that the state has done to this city of Utica School District, as well as the denial of giving them the aid they want, you're closer to $400 million. Wow.
and hence the lawsuits that the Utica School District.
Well, yeah, Utica's in court. They were in court about a month ago. We were in court on their behalf a couple of weeks ago, as well as a plaintiff saying, you guys got to fund the formula you said you would fund to uphold the New York State Constitution. The Attorney General, the same one suing the district over these refugees, is saying, hey, we don't owe you any money. We gave you money.
Mm-hmm. And those are two scenarios. That's the basic foundation aid that we're talking about from 2007, and then also the gap elimination.
Right. So what they do is it's kind of like this. I promised to pay you $10 this week, and I end up having you $8, and you say, well, where's my 10? I said, well, I had a gap. I had to adjust it by eliminating something. It happens to be your pay. So not only am I not paying you, I'm subtracting from the pay I'm supposed to give you.
Yeah, we're talking with Rick Timbs, by the way, 100.7 FM WUTQ. Rick is the executive director of the Statewide School Finance Consortium. Will you be utilized as a consultant moving forward in this case as well?
Well, not exactly. I don't think so. I think the key thing is what I'm trying to do is battle for the state aid so the district gets its due in terms of the funding. Mm-hmm. I think that if we have a couple of issues whereby even perhaps that a couple kids were missed here or there, that's got to be ascertained. And certainly you think the state education department could figure it out. But the truth of it is this district is going to be struggling forever until they get these funds that are due to them by this formula. And I think my job is to advocate for those funds. And luckily, we've got our local representatives are trying to help out as well. So Assemblyman Brindisi and Senator Griffo. So the good thing is we're trying hard, but many hands make light work, but the truth of it is this mission is very difficult.
Yeah, I know Oneida County Executive Tony Pacenti was kind of ticked off when he heard this news, too.
Well, it's unnecessary. There's another way to do this. Mm-hmm. It sounds kind of retaliatory, to be absolutely honest with you. It doesn't pass a real good smell test. Mm-hmm. And I think the big thing here is that, there's a better way to handle this.
Right.
And I don't think we had to go this far.
You mentioned right in New Hartford, there's a state education department representative.
Absolutely, and they can investigate this. Matter of fact, these kids were over there at that New Hartford program earning either a GED or they're in a certificated program for career and technical education. Mm-hmm. So maybe they want to learn a trade. Maybe they don't want to go to Proctor.
Right.
Some staggering numbers as far as how we line up with other schools in the state, the 674 other school districts in the state. Pretty staggering to look at how we hold up to them as far as property values.
Oh, yeah. Well, we're second lowest in the state. There's only one school district that has lower property values based on school aid formulas in the state. Utica's number 2. Mm-hmm. We're number 7 in income.
Right.
We've got huge amounts of kids who are on free and reduced lunch, which is a huge measure of poverty. I mean, it's over 70%.
Right.
So the truth of it is here you have a classic needy district, a district that you would think if the state did anything to help anybody, it would be Utica.
Right. Right.
And, so it's kind of counterproductive.
So, and being number 2 in the state with taxable properties, that's saying that our region, our city, doesn't have the money as well.
Well, that's it. It's not like this. Well, so they would say, well, what is this city doing? Well, the city has nothing to do it with. We don't have the income structure. We don't have the property value structure. Remember, you pay taxes based on your property, but you pay it with your income. Mm-hmm. And we have neither. So they're seriously disadvantaged.
Right.
It's terrible.
I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, Rick, as you advocate for these funds, is there anything that we as average citizens can do to get behind this program here?
Well, I think the thing is one of the things you got to try and support the Senator Griffo and Assemblyman Brindisi as they try and get these funds. Mm-hmm. And I think letters of support to them and helping them push so they can actually say, look, I've been contacted by thousands of citizens that think this is a crying shame and something's got to be done about it. And I think that's the type of oomph, so to speak, that we need to give these legislators to help them in their mission and help us in ours.
Good. For folks who may not know those addresses, we'll post them on our website at WUTQFM.com. That's a good way to go.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick, a little bit with the AG's lawsuit, if you take the piece out of it and look at the funding and the educational part of it, do you believe they have a direct correlation? If some of these lawsuits and the claims hold merit, do you think that the funding maybe could have been in place to help these programs?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, certainly structurally, I think the place has really been damaged by the lack of the funds. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you lay off 365 people out of a school district, I mean, you've got to be kidding me.
Right.
Obviously, something's going to suffer, something's going to fall by the wayside. Now, these are obviously accusations that have to be researched, and if they have any merit at all, which we don't believe they do at this point, but if they do, then I'm sure that the funding is probably directly correlated correlated to this. I mean, if you had another $47 million, my goodness, can you imagine the programs the kids in the city of Utica could have?
Right.
And probably should have.
And how unique are we with the 1,700 either English learning or non-speaking students as far as the statewide?
Well, it's an aberration. You don't find many schools that have this level of immigrant refugee population. Now, you've got to remember, when you're talking about immigrant population, some of these kids are going to be coming in pretty good shape, and some of them are going to come in unbelievably needy. So it's not just a matter of just coming in, well, we're getting immigrants from Japan, or we're getting immigrants from Germany, or they're coming in from England. They're coming in many cases, from impoverished countries. And, they're entitled to a sound basic education, too.